ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिर्बोद्धूतं यथा निद्रया यस्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्रचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ Verse 31. विद्यते हृदयग्रन्थिः छिद्यन्ते सर्वसंशयाः क्षीयन्ते चास्य कर्माणि तस्मिन् दृष्टे परावरे. So, we saw of course this verse number 31, and as such with this verse 31, the first part of the text Drsya Viveka is over. Author has talked all the aspects, all aspects of this Vedantic teaching, concluding in this verse number 31. He talked about this problem of samsara as the non-discrimination between two things, non-discrimination between real and unreal. At the subjective level also is the non-discrimination between the real seer and the unreal seen. The seer seen, Drsya, non-discrimination, aviveka. And at the objective level also, the non-discrimination is between real, the Brahman, and unreal, name and form, the Jagat. So at the subjective level also, the real is called Chit, the consciousness. And at the objective level, the real is called Sat, the existence. So this non-discrimination will be at the subjective level, objective level. Is this the cause of a samsara? And therefore the solution is what? Discrimination. That's how Drsya Viveka. Discrimination or separation. So we have to separate the I, the Chit, the real, from this body mind sense complex, that is unreal. And and at the objective level, I should understand the Sat, the reality, which is in and through all the names and forms of universe. So not only I should separate the Sat and Chit. Most importantly, I should understand that Chit inside alone is the Sat outside. Actually, it's Sat Chit only. Only we make a difference because you don't know the Chit as such. You cannot point out the Chit, Chaitanyam, the consciousness outside naturally, because it's not an object. Consciousness is not an object, cannot be objectified. Consciousness is always in the form of an I. Therefore, at an objective level, we have to understand the consciousness a little differently, which is there in form of an existence in everything, in and through everything. So, Sat and Chit are basically two different words, but they refer to one and the same thing, Brahman or Atma, the Satchitatma. So, there is self-existent consciousness alone is Satyam. That's the reality. Self-existent consciousness is Satyam. Consciousness is self-existent. What is self-existent is consciousness. what exists on its own is consciousness alone. And consciousness is the one which exists on its own. Simple. Which exists because it exists. No cause, therefore self exists. Body exists because consciousness exists. Mind exists because consciousness exists. Everything exists within consciousness, non-separate from consciousness. Ananyatvam, non-separate. Tadananyatvam arambana shabdadibhyah. That was said even in Brahma Sutra also. Anyway, so everything exists in consciousness. Consciousness lends existence to everything. Therefore, nothing is self-existent. Consciousness is self-existent. Self-existent means no cause for existence. The whole world exists because of consciousness. So outside we point out it as existence, Sat. Sadeva Sumidamagra Asit. So that Sat alone lends existence to all the names and forms. Even through that existing, all the whole universe exists in Sat. Anyway, so just Satchit alone is the Atma. And so, and the body, mind, sense complex and the world, etc. are mithya and real. And so this discrimination is the solution for a samsara. So author said, well, it is not enough that if we do the discrimination, but he has to it is not that enough, but he has to assimilate also, because our habitual identification with the body should go away. Any habit has to gradually go away. It doesn't go away easily. That's how habit or addiction. When we instead of habit we say addiction, we understand immediately. Removal of any addiction is tough. And this ego addiction also is the worst form of addiction. We do everything for the sake of ego. Everything. What is most dear in the world is this ego. Of course, the dear, of course, self, because ego is the first manifestation of the self. But what I'm saying in general, so everything because through ego we derive security, pleasure, everything. So if ego is in danger, I feel I am insecure. Anyway, so basically, so that taking oneself as an ego, that's an addiction. And it's a long drawn addiction. So ego addiction is the worst form of addiction. So if it is said that moksha means dropping this ego addiction, people will generally opt for dropping moksha actually, because individuality is loved by everyone. So negation of individuality appears like committing suicide kind of a thing. So once it is understood that individuality is another form of a mortality, another name for mortality, let us say individuality is equal to insecurity, is equal to mortality, is equal to a sense of limitation, etc. A sense of there is dependence, all these things. So basically, once we understand that, then we will be ready. It will be worthwhile to learn how to drop this individuality. So withdrawal from this strong addiction to ahankara is a little difficult, and therefore while we discuss this long nididhyasanam is required to remove this habitual addiction, identification. So as a part of this nididhyasanam, we understand, we did also 6 types of samadhi abhyasa, nididhyasanam. They are prescribed, and in that 3 are internal, 3 are external, and in internal also we saw internal means antar. And so antara Drsya savikalpaka samadhi, antara shabda anuvidya savikalpaka samadhi, antara nirvikalpaka samadhi, and the same way 3 are external also. Bahya Drsya anuvidya savikalpaka samadhi, bahya shabda anuvidya savikalpaka samadhi, and bahya nirvikalpaka samadhi. All the 6 types of meditations have a single objective: to get rid of this habit of taking oneself as an individual being. So anyway, and well, if one does it, one can get rid of that individuality, sense of individuality, and one obtains Jivan Bhakti and also Videha Bhakti. And this benefit was presented in verse number 31 by quoting this mantra. Actually, it's a mantra from Mundaka Upanishad. So, well, vidyate hridaya granthihi chidyante sarva samshayaha kshiyante chasya karmani tasmin drishte paravare para paramatma avara jiva avara, which is lower, para means which is higher. So para and avara, drishte, seeing, well, knowing jivatma and paramatma clearly means what? Identity. Knowing the identity between jivatma and paramatma, well, vidyate hridaya granthihi, well, definitely the knower of this identity, definitely the knots in his heart are destroyed. What are the knots? All complexes regarding oneself. The basic complex is I am an individual, I am a jiva, etc., etc. And then all other based on that. I am so and so, so and so, so and so, etc. But basic is this. So all the knots basically in the heart are destroyed. The samsara goes away. Chidyante sarva samshayaha, well, all his doubts regarding the world, regarding oneself, regarding Ishvara are dispelled at once. Knowing the reality of all the three as one, which is the I, which is just in the form of I, nothing else. I am the reality of all the three. I am the reality of the entire creation. I am a reality of all the jivas, all the individuals, and I am a reality of even Ishvara. Knowing that, well, his all doubts pertaining to all the three are dispelled. And kshiyante asya karmani, well, asya karmani kshiyante, asya jnaninaha, well, this, well, his all actions, result of an action, basically in terms of punya papa, etc., sanchita, etc., well, also eliminated. So we will become free from janma marana also. So this is how the samsara nivritti, knowing tasmin drishte paravare, knowing jivatma and paramatma, knowing the identity between these two, well, definitely he becomes free. So actually at this point, after at the end of verse 31, the teaching of the text is over. Drsya Viveka is over. But in some versions, the text itself ends with 31st verse. In the version of the text, well, we are studying now, some more verses are there. Those verses, well, form the summary of the teaching. And these verses can be treated as even separate Vedantic text also, because these verses can exist independently without connection to the previous portion. Let's read verse number 32. अवच्छिन्नश्चिदाभासः तृतीयस्वप्नकल्पितः विज्ञेयस्त्रिविधो जीवः तत्राद्यः पारमार्थिकः. Now author takes a little a new approach, a unique approach, well, to this Vedantic teaching now. So in the previous portion, well, he talked about, if you remember, three seers. Right? In this I, there are three seers. And when you say three seers, respectively, there are three seen also. What are the three seers and three seen? What are the group? Those groups. First is this, the senses are the seer and the world is seen. Then the mind is a seer and the senses are seen. Then the witness consciousness is the seer and the mind is seen. These three groups we have already seen. Seer, seen groups. In this portion now, author talks about three jivas within this one individual. There it was said within one individual three seers. Now he little different approach. In this one individual itself there are three jivas. So every individual is a combination of three jivas. So when we use the word I, it can refer to any of these three jivas. according to the context. So if we understand the context clearly, we will have no problem. So 3 names are given. The first one is called Paramarthika Jivaha. The second is a Vyavaharika Jivaha. And the third is a Pratibhasika Jivaha. Of these 3 jivas, well, the first one is a Paramarthika Jivaha. Is the name for what? Consciousness, Brahman, Atma, Chaitanyam, Chit, obtaining in the individual. So in this one individual, there is a one Paramarthika Jiva, that is consciousness. The other 2, Vyavaharika Jiva and Pratibhasika Jiva, are basically Chidabhasas. Vyavaharika Jiva, Chidabhasa number 1. Pratibhasika Jiva, Chidabhasa number 2. So 2 types of reflected consciousness and 1 consciousness. This 3. Consciousness plus 2 reflected consciousness. This 3 together is this individual. For them, names are different. Paramarthika Jiva, consciousness, Atma, Brahman, Chaitanya. Vyavaharika Jiva, Chidabhasa. Pratibhasika Jiva, Chidabhasa. Chidabhasa number 1, Vyavaharika Jiva, Chidabhasa number 2, Pratibhasika Jiva. So, these 3 jivas are there in this one individual. So, this consciousness which exists independently is a Paramarthika Jiva, Satyam. It exists on its own. Satyam. What exists on its own cannot be negated. What exists on behalf of something will be negated. Will be negated. Right? The heat in the water can be negated. The heat in the fire can never be negated. Because self-existent. Fire is nature. Is this heat. Therefore cannot be negated. If you negate the heat, means you are negating fire. That's it. Fire is there and heat is negated. No, not possible. But water will be there, but heat can be negated. Because it has acquired. That's not its nature. So there is a cause for the heat in the water. Yeah. The entire world is like this. It exists. Wonderful. It was not there before. Correct? It's there now. Yes. It won't be there. Everything is going. Everything appears on the stage, getting illumined, and go away from the other door. This is how the world is. Whole stage. Whole world is a stage, right? Socrates. This is how it is. It appears. Remain on the stage. Oh, it is there. Gone. Continuous. That's how some people say world is a film. That's also true. Like the film continuously runs, right? On a certain substratum called screen. Same with the entire world is like a film. All characters are appearing, going away. On the substratum called screen, Brahman. That sustains everything. That comes from that. Exists due to that. Non-separate from that. Every character in the film is nothing but the screen. Even a little hair on the eyebrow is screen. The eye of the person is screen. The hair on his ear also. The hero's ear, the very hair is a screen. Totally non-separate. Totally. Whole existence of the hero in the film is screen. The very appearance of the hero is screen. That's how it is. Just shadow. Just an appearance. Exactly like that. Entire universe is a film. Varieties of the names and forms. Varieties. Billions and billions. Really speaking, everything is non-separate from the reality called Brahman. That's how any appearance, mithya, is satyam. Any mithya is satyam. When you don't know satyam, mithya becomes satyam for you. That's a different thing. When you understand then something as satyam, then all these things which you experience become automatically mithya, which is non-separate from satyam. The very mithya, existence of the mithya is due to satyam. And that satyam exists because satyam exists. Therefore it is self-existent. And the entire world which is mithya exists on account of satyam, borrowing existence from the satyam. We have to understand this. So Satchit, the crystallization of Satchit is this body. Crystallization. It's not crystallization, but I have to say like that because it's a solid like that. Everything is Satchit. Every molecule, even in the nucleus also, a DNA particle, whatever is there, a part of the DNA also is Satchit. Entire body is Satchit. You take body as Satchit, body as Satyam, and Satchit as Asat. Ulta. Somebody takes that hero as a Satyam. That's how there is a Ragadvesha also. Yeah. Villain comes and hero comes. Wow. Likes and dislikes arise because you take instead of a screen that hero and villain as Satyam. Hero and villain both have screen. Both are screen. From top to bottom. Top to bottom. Every movement also is screen. Everything is screen. This is how it is. This is Vedanta. So anyway, so the consciousness, which exists independently is Paramarthika Jiva, the Satyam. So its existence does not depend upon the body and the mind. Existence of the body and mind depend upon consciousness. Existence of consciousness does not depend upon anything. Or say existence of consciousness depend upon consciousness. Self-existent. What is self-existent is Satyam. What exists on account of something else is Mithya. So even after the destruction of this body-mind complex and even the whole universe, the consciousness continue to exist. Only thing is the consciousness is not available for transaction. Consciousness needs a medium to transact. Therefore it has to express in the medium. That's called transactional consciousness. Vyahavarika jivaha. Transactional. Life is nothing but a transactional consciousness. Reflected consciousness. Chidabhasa. Because of that, the body has a sentiency. Life. So body has a sentiency. Samaji, consciousness has definitely landed. The consciousness has lended itself to the body and therefore body is conscious. No. Not to the gross body directly. If the gross body borrows consciousness from the Brahman or Atma, then every gross body will be conscious. But that's not the case. That's not the case. Everything is pervaded by Atma, consciousness. This also should be conscious, but it is not. Therefore, there is no consciousness. No, consciousness is all pervading. Brahman. Therefore, there is some medium should be there inside. Well, where consciousness manifests. That's called descendants of consciousness, which is Paramarthikam, which is Satyam. Descendants in terms of a reflected consciousness. That reflected consciousness has a localization. I will talk to that anyway. So Paramarthik Jiva is a meaning of number one. Meaning number one of the word I. That way we will take. So when a Jnani says I am Brahman, that I, Well, he referred to this Paramarthika Jiva. I refer to this consciousness alone. Now the second, in that I there is another Jiva, three Jivas. The second Jiva is the very same consciousness which is reflected or manifested either, because the reflection also, because the words have certain limitation. We really feel that there is a reflection. As such also Swamiji used to compare with the sun. And this Atma also is a self-effulgent. Sun is a self-effulgent, and therefore self-effulgent sun gets reflected in the water or some medium. Same way Atma also gets reflected. Don't think that way. It just manifests in the medium, and that also is not true, really speaking. It's not true, manifest, etc. When you say manifest, well, there was a time when it was not manifest. That's never the case. That's never the case. Mind is there all the time conscious. Mind is destroyed, then there is medium destroyed, then there is no question of reflection. Point is, so manifestation etc. also is a really speaking, is not really conveying anything. But anyway, for us we will have to explain a phenomena called life, etc. Then well, we explain like this. So the consciousness which is manifested in this body mind sense complex, which is a part of the world, as a Chidabhasa, and therefore there will be a life or sentiency in the body, which is of course so this body is a conscious. Just beside that, the cloth is not conscious. So that means this kind of a sentiency or consciousness has a limitation, has a localization. When you say consciousness is all pervading, then well, definitely how can you localize it? Because the cloth which I am wearing for 24 hours, it's in constant touch with the body which is sentient. But then this always remain inert. Therefore consciousness as though has a boundary. All pervading consciousness with the boundary. All pervading cannot have a boundary. Well, then there is another consciousness. That is what we call reflection. Reflected consciousness. Why reflected? Because the medium has a limitation, medium has a localization. Therefore, the consciousness which manifests in that medium has also localization. So it's a localized consciousness, reflected consciousness, Chidabhasa, etc. So because the reflection is available only within the reflecting medium. So because mind cannot go further other than this. Sukshma Sharira pervades the gross body. In Sukshma Sharira, the consciousness manifests. That's a medium. And therefore, the subtle body becomes conscious. Subtle body pervades the gross body. Therefore, gross body is also conscious, sentient, life, etc. Anyway, and so this consciousness, of course, is available for transaction. Where there is a life, there is a transaction. Where there is no life, there is no transaction. Or when the consciousness, all pervading consciousness, which doesn't manifest at all, there is no medium, suppose, then there is no transaction. Avyahvaryam. Chaturtham avyahvaryam. Mandukya. Not available for transaction. All pervading, what will transact with what? What will transact with what? When you say all pervading, in and through pervading everything, there is really not any other thing other than that. Then how the transaction is possible? No, but Swamiji, all names forms are there. How can you negate it? But they are mithya, they are appearances. Mithya cannot transact with the satyam. Transaction is possible between the between the two things of the same order of reality. And therefore, body cannot transact with the consciousness, etc. Anyway, so it is this Chidabhasa and not this consciousness, of course, that senses the sensation of the body and the surrounding. So your senses can sense, your body can sense. That's due to Chidabhasa, not original consciousness or consciousness. So that's how a table does not have a reflected consciousness, and therefore table is not sentient. Even if you put a cup of tea which is very hot, well, it won't shout immediately. So it's not sentient. Even though consciousness pervades everything, therefore nothing is without consciousness. But yet, table remains inert, even though totally in and through pervaded by consciousness, because that medium was required to manifest that consciousness which is already pervaded. If it manifests, it will make the table sentient. Then table can sense what is around. So this Chidabhasa, well, that obtains in this body-mind sense complex. Body-mind sense complex is Vyavarikam. Vyavarikam means which is a reality for all. What is reality for me is reality for you. I can see that. You can also see that. Someone else also can see that. Right? So transactional, that's how Vyavarikam means which is available for transaction for everyone. So, well, this Chidabhasa, well, that obtains in this Vyavarika body-mind complex, and experience also Vyavarika universe, which is there in front of you in the waking state, is this Vyavarika Jiva. And so, Chidabhasa, of course, but that is Vyavarika Jiva. And so, as long as this mind is active, Vyavarika Jiva will be available. Mind resolves, then medium resolves, then definitely Chidabhasa resolves. Then therefore the body also as though is non-sentient, etc. So no transaction. And that is what we saw, that's what we experience in a deep sleep state. So anyway, now when a person is in dream, third jiva in this. So when a person is in dream, well, a fresh dream body-mind sense complex is created by avidya shakti to experience the dream. And so that projected mind, well, obtaining in dream, does not know that it is dreaming. So Chidabhasa is formed in the dream mind. So you know the dreamer creates a dream body, mind, etc. and then he sees that he is going to some place, he is eating something, he is seeing something, right? So definitely that is conscious. See, Chidabhasa is formed in the dream mind, also, and the Chidabhasa obtained that is in that pratibhasika, in that sapna, in the dream. So the Chidabhasa obtained that pratibhasika sharira, body mind sense complex, projected by the waker's mind under ignorance, under deep sleep. Well, that is called pratibhasika jiva. So you create your own body which is sentient. Therefore, well, if it is sentient, then you should imagine that there is a mind also we have created. You think, you see that you are going to some place and seeing something, and it was very terrible, there is a terrible heat, the temperature is 45 degrees centigrade, and in the afternoon you are walking on the road, and so all this, as a sentient being you see yourself. So you have created body mind sense complex. Definitely, then there is a Chidabhasa created by waker's mind. Dreamer body, dream, and experiencing dream world. So right now you are experiencing this Vyavarika world through this Vyavarika body mind sense complex, where definite consciousness is manifested in this Vyavarika mind. That's called Vyavarika Jiva. Then, well, under the deep sleep, this Vyavarika mind creates a dream body mind sense complex. And in that there is a consciousness manifest. Right? And then experience different things he experiences in dream world. So that is called Pratibhasika Jiva. That's also Chidabhasa. Chidabhasa present in a dreamer's body mind sense complex for experiencing dream world. Vyavarika body mind sense complex, consciousness manifest. And that is Vyavarika Jiva, to experience a Vyavarika world. Then this Vyavarika mind creates under the spell of ignorance or a deep sleep, creates another body, fresh, everyday fresh body, mind, sense complex. And definitely Chidabhasa is there because it's a sentient being, experiencing dream world, seeing a tiger and this and that and eating something and enjoying it, all sentiency. So that is Pratibhasika Jiva. Anyway, so when the person wakes up, well, then this Pratibhasika body, mind and the corresponding Jiva and the dream universe, everything resolved into the waker. Similarly, when the Vyavarika mind is resolved in deep sleep, then the Vyavarika Jiva and the Vyavaric world also resolve. Clear? So these things are there. So in this I, there are three Jivas. So one is a Paramarthika Jiva, which is consciousness, which never resolves. And that Paramarthika Jiva is Advaita Brahman, and it ever is. Whereas the other two Jivas resolve. So, definitely, both the Chidabhasa, Vyavarika Jiva or Pratibhasika Jiva, both resolves. Vyavarika Jiva resolves into the deep sleep. Pratibhasika Jiva resolves when you wake up. You can say like that. So, either, just for difference if you want. So the teaching of Vedanta, of course, is that instead of claiming this Vyavarika Jiva and or a Pratibhasika Jiva as I should learn to claim as a Paramarthika Jiva. Why? I want to claim as a Vyavarika Jiva. Why? What's your problem? I don't want to claim as a Paramarthika Jiva. In I, three Jivas are there, but I want to claim as a Vyavarika Jiva, which is right there in front of you. I want to claim that as a reality. Yeah, but that doesn't remain. If it is a reality, that should remain in all the three states. But the first thing is when you say that there are three states, means the one state is over. Then the second state comes. What is the first state? The Jagrata Avastha. Where Vyavarika Jiva transact with the Vyavarika world, that's the Jagrata Avastha. That resolves. Therefore, Vyavarika Jiva resolves that it is not a reality. Well, then I am not there. No, but there is some I which says that now I am dreaming, or I only woke up, I did all Vyavara, then I dreamt, then I slept. Then what is that I which remains in all the three states? It's not a Vyavarika Jiva. It is not a Pratibhasika Jiva. It is one Jiva which never resolves. That I never resolves. Oh, that's a real I. That's a real I. That is the meaning of word I in Mahavakya. That's a shifting. That's a shift. Understanding of Mahavakya is otherwise, if one doesn't understand Mahavakya, that's how Nishkarma Siddhikara says very beautifully. Well, if you don't understand if you find a contradiction in the understanding of a Mahavakya, then you have really not understood the meaning of the word I. Because I can never be equated with Brahman. I means this Vyavarika Jiva or Pratibhasika. Let us keep it aside. I, the Vyavarika Jiva, well, waker, I mean, simple. So another way, what can I say? This is the way he has told here. I, the waker. If I am really the waker, then how can I be the Brahman? Because waker has a certain reality for a length of time. Waker is not a waker all the time. Whereas Brahman is the reality which is beyond time. That's a reality which is beyond time. Waker is there as a reality within time. And a limited entity. Again, I, the waker, is a limited. We know, that's our experience. Brahman is limitless. So, I am Brahman. If suppose one understands I as a Vyavarika Jiva, waker, etc., then this equation doesn't make sense. So, if people complain that I am Brahman is not a reality at all, that's not true. Then he has really not understood the meaning of the word I. To understand the meaning of the word I, you have to give it up. A certain portion from the meaning of the word I, which has been popular. What is the meaning of word popular meaning of the word I? I am an individual. It says that in this I there are three I's, three jivas. One is which never resolves. The other two resolves, comes and goes. If something comes and goes, leaving behind you, leaving behind I, well, then that is the real meaning of I. So waker goes away, I remain. To pick up a dream state. Dream state goes away, another pratibhasika jiva goes away. Still I remain in deep sleep state. Where nothing, no vyavarika jiva, no pratibhasika jiva. Still I continue. Then the third meaning only is possible. That is paramarthika jiva. Paramarthika means which never goes, never comes. Now, what is that? Na udeti nastameti. Esha samvit swayam prabha. Na udeti nastameti. Never rises, never sets. Never comes, never goes. That I is there in your own experiences, three states of experiences. That is you. Claim that as you. That is I. And when you claim that, you find, yeah, that is Brahman. That I has no dimension. No dimension. That's not available for transaction. No transaction with the Vyavarika world, no transaction with the dream world. Still available in deep sleep state. No dimension also. No height, no width, no above, no below. I am there. There is no experience, that such kind of experience is possible because of that I, consciousness. Yeah, right? I am the one who experiences that there is no experience. I mean, it's not an experience of blankness, let us say. So there is an experience of blankness, reveals that there is someone because of which such experience is possible. And that I has no dimension. That I is not really doing any kind of transaction. What is available for transaction is only when the medium of transaction or medium of manifestation is available. Then that I, real I, transact. And that is mind. So when mind is available in a waking state, then I, the paramarthik jiva, will transact to that. And there is a sentiency, life, this, that, etc. And partially the mind is available, well, still I transact in the dream world. When mind resolves, no transaction. Mind resolves, I remain to experience even the absence of mind, ahankara, etc. Therefore, that I is free from even the I notion, the sense of individuality also. There is no sense of individuality in deep sleep state. So you are really speaking, in reality you are not an individual. Individuality is only through the mind, through ahankara. That's what we say. So anyway, this is, we have to understand. This is called Anvaya Vyatireka, which I think I should teach you once again. But this is a beautiful method. Vidyaranya has adopted this Anvaya Vyatireka. Neshkarma Siddhikara has employed it. Upadesh Sahasri Shankaracharya ji has also adopted in the 18th chapter to explain this through Anvaya Vyatireka. Well, co-presence and co-absence, etc. Otherwise they call Anuvritti and Vyavritti. Anvaya is the Anuvritti. Vyatireka is a Vyavritti. Anyway, that's a beautiful method. Very powerful method. That's all. Other things go away, still one remains. When other things are there, definitely that also is there. When other things go away, still that I is there. Means I is really speaking free from this body-mind sense complex. Through body-mind sense complex, there is a sense of individuality. Therefore, I definitely manifest in the medium as a Chidabhasa, either Vyavarika Jiva or Pratibhasika Jiva. So I should learn to claim that Paramarthika Jiva is I. And after claiming this, well, then simple, I can play the roles. Once I know who am I, really speaking, then these two jivas, Vyavarika or Pratibhasika, they are two roles for transacting two different types of worlds, waking world and dream world. And then, then I need not try to get rid of them, naturally, because it's a role playing. Only the understanding of that those jivas are only roles, that is needed. One need not have to do anything to run away from the world. Of course, from dream world you will not run away, but from waking world definitely you feel that you want to run away because you get tired of this naturally. But that's a role playing we have to know. And so playing the roles with this knowledge, the roles will not create samsara. So now this kind of approach, the individual is, the I, individual has three jivas, etc. And in that the I, the real meaning of I is only one jiva, that is Paramarthika jiva. And once you know this, such a jnani, will play the roles without allowing the roles to cause any samsara. That's called Jivan Mukta. So this Paramarthik jiva is consciousness, Vyavarika jiva is reflected consciousness, obtaining in the waking state, in this body mind sense complex, which is part of the waking world. And Pratibhasika jiva is reflected consciousness 2, Chidabhasa number 2, obtaining in the dream body mind sense complex for transacting with the dream world. And every jiva is this a composite of this individual, consisting of these three jivas. So when the word I is used, it can refer to any one of them. One should be aware of which jiva is referred to when. And of course, of these three, one is Satyam, other two are Mithya. So when you gain Jnanam, out of these three, two you negate, understanding them as a Mithya. That's called Bhagatyaga Lakshana. You do Lakshana in order to understand the real meaning of word I, in order to understand the meaning of sentence, Mahavakya, Aham Brahmasmi. The Vachyartha is individual with all the three jivas. The Lakshartha is part of it is negated. Bhagasya Tyagaha. And so then you get the real meaning of what I, which can be equated with Brahman easily. So Mahavakya will be understood only when you do Bhagatyaga Lakshana. When you get an implied meaning of what I. 33. Avachchedah kalpita syad avachchedyam tu vastavam tasmin jivatvam aropat brahmatvam tu svabhavatah. So here author talks about the nature of the Paramarthika jiva, the consciousness enclosed within the body. Now we know, Avachchedavada we did also. So this Paramarthik jiva, what is the nature of this Paramarthik jiva? That's a consciousness enclosed within the body. The enclosed consciousness, is seemingly limited by the body, but really not limited, because it is all pervading. And we used to give an example. Whenever this enclosed comes, we have one example which is really very helpful for us, and that is part space. Part space is seemingly limited by the part, is not really limited. The space seems to be obtained in the part, that's true. It looks like that. But basically the truth is, the part is in indivisible space. Not the space is available in the part. Because if space is available in the part, means part wall has created a division in the all pervading space, and part has come now inside and the rest has remained outside. But space is an indivisible entity. In that, therefore, the walls of the part cannot create a division in the space. And therefore, still you say the space enclosed by the part. Gata avachinna akasha. That's a wrong understanding. It appears like that. In your experience, it is true. There is a pot space. But in reality, the space is not in pot, but the pot is in its space. Because space is indivisible. If space is indivisible, there cannot be two spaces, Ghatakasha and Mahakasha. No. The whole pot is in space. Similarly, consciousness also is not in the body. So, antakkara avachinna chaitanyam. Jiva. Paramarthik jiva we are talking about. Antakkara avachinna chaitanyam. Well, similarly, this consciousness is not in the body or the mind, but there is one indivisible, all-pervading, advitiyam. Ekameva advitiyam. Therefore, consciousness also is indivisible. Therefore, consciousness is enclosed in the mind or in the body. Well, that's not true. In fact, entire body, along with the mind and senses and the thoughts and everything, is in consciousness. Not one body. All the bodies, with all the minds, with all the pranas, with all the thoughts, with all the senses, exist in one consciousness. That's how it is. And therefore, consciousness enclosed by the body, Sharira Vachinna Chaitanyam, Antakarana Vachinna Chaitanyam. To define Jiva, if you say that, but that's not true. Body does not enclose or limit consciousness, because consciousness is not available for division. If something is divided, then the walls of the body can as though divide now, all pervading consciousness into two. Some part is enclosed in the body, rest is outside the body. No. Why you cannot divide consciousness? What is available for division should have a parts. What is partless cannot be divided. When you divide something, definitely you are dividing the parts. And therefore, and if anything which has a parts will fall apart. Do you remember that? Anything which has a parts has a janma. Putting together parts, birth, and separating the parts, death. The consciousness is something which is ajaha nityaha, which is free from birth and death. Definitely, well, cannot have any parts. Moreover, anything which has a parts will be united. All the parts are united, which we call, well, that is also within time. Within time. Consciousness is free from time. Even the very concept of the time exists in consciousness. Existence of time, any concept of an hour, concept of a second, concept of a minute, concept of a millisecond, microsecond, picosecond. Basically, you divide and divide and divide the time. In any concept of the time, consciousness is all the time there to sustain the concept. What sustains concept is consciousness. The very existence of a concept is in consciousness. And therefore, concept exists in mind. Concept exists in which mind? Inert mind or conscious mind? Whole thing exists in consciousness. And more you divide the time from hour or time or year or something and keep dividing and dividing and dividing, you are resolving into consciousness. The time resolves into consciousness. The truth of the time is present. What is present? What is present? Present year is present. 2023 is present. 2024 is future. 2022 is past. Really speaking, that is present? No. Present month is present, because that's again divisible. When you divide, some part goes to past, some part goes to future. Present. You know that Puja Swamiji used to do? You must be remembering that. So present month. Again it is divisible. Because we want to come. The definition of time is what is present. Again you divide present month, then again present time, present picosecond. Then again, well, it is divisible. And some part past and some part future and present. So when you really want, when you are trying to arrive at the truth of the time as present, you are basically merging and merging into consciousness. It is all the time there. All along consciousness is there. The truth of the time is consciousness. What is present is consciousness. We should understand. Our consciousness is one which is present, existence. And therefore, so what is, I mean, the whole time exists in consciousness. Truth of time exists in is consciousness. And therefore consciousness is beyond time. Then there is no question of a birth or death of consciousness. I mean, anyway, so many ways you can look at it. And therefore it has no parts. It's the indivisible. And therefore there is enclosed consciousness and there is other than enclosed consciousness, all pervading consciousness. That's not true. That's not true. What is inside is jiva, and what is externally there is samashti. Well, that is Ishvara. No, that's not true. It's not true. And therefore, then, and the final argument. Well, anyway, the body does not enclose or limit consciousness. Now the final argument. Consciousness is of a higher order of reality. Body is a lower order of reality. Unreal body can never limit the real consciousness. The body itself is an appearance in consciousness. Such a body cannot enclose, cannot limit the real consciousness. It cannot touch even. Any appearance, like a wave, cannot really limit the ocean. Oh, water, that's better. The enclosed body is mithya, a lower order of reality, and the enclosed consciousness is satyam. Avachhedyam tu vastavam. See? Avachhedaha kalpitaha. Avachheda, then there is an enclosure of consciousness is kalpitaha syat. And avachhedyam, the consciousness which is avachhedyam, enclosed, is vastavam, is satyam. And so, basically, limitation is falsely attributed to the enclosed consciousness. Falsely attributed. Superimposed. Limitation of the body is superimposed upon limitless consciousness. And then you say enclosed consciousness. Jiva. Therefore, really speaking, it is Paramarthika Jiva. Atma. So it looks as though I am the consciousness located in the body. That's not true. All the bodies, all the minds, all the thoughts, everything, all the senses are located in me, the Paramarthika Jiva. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.